Bring in our guest from the New Hampshire Sportspage. Our good friend Dave Haley joins us here on Arcand and Sheppard. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing
Dave,
just fine.
Awesome. How are you?
I pulled over to rest area to make sure I was focused on this conversation. So if you hear cars whizzing by me, I'm not in any danger. I just want to make that clear to both of you.
Okay.
That's okay. Be careful of rest areas, though. They've heard about some interesting scenarios, including some former Major League Baseball managers
That's right.
got into trouble back in the day. But anyway,
I'm staying in well-lit areas.
Hey, before we get into what happened in New Hampshire over the weekend from Friday night and Saturday, but did you see what happened, Dave, in Western Pennsylvania over the weekend?
The 107 to 90?
Yes.
Yeah.
As Meadville over Dubois. 107 to 90 was the final score. Journey Brown ran for 722 yards and 10 touchdowns, and the sophomore Dubois, the quarterback, Matt Miller, passed for 741 yards and 10 touchdown passes, 29 to 50. But honestly, I mean, in all seriousness, how does that happen?
I have no idea how that happens. 770 yards in a season will get you All-State consideration. To do it in one game is ridiculous. And I love the fact that the picture they were tweeting, we were covering the game Friday night, and they were tweeting out a picture of the scoreboard. And it was 90 to 07, and come to find out that it wasn't 07, it was 107.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I can't even answer that, Pete. But obviously, run and shoot offense. David Klinger might be coaching one of those the old Houston quarterbacks.
Oh, absolutely. He was great at it.
It's ridiculous. But that's not even football, though.
Oh, that's what I mean. I mean, how is that enjoyable for anybody? I mean, I can't believe kids are that bad. And I'm looking at some of the kids. This isn't like a Pop Warner team. It's a high school football team.
Yeah, I don't know if they. Yeah. What I'd like to find out is maybe they were two-way players and the kids were just gassed or used all their energy on offense.
I don't know.
That's very possible.
Maybe.
But you say, who benefits, Pete? You can say, hey, look at my stats this year. I benefit pretty well. You have like record-breaking stats. You have best receiving yards, touchdowns, everything else. I mean, it's kind of bogus, but at least it's something.
Let's good on a resume.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's take it into New Hampshire here. Pretty interesting weekend. We were over here at ESPN New Hampshire on Friday night covering the Bedford-Nashua South game. And how about those Bulldogs there, Dave? They look like they're for real this year.
Yeah, they're kind of a surprise only in that they're able to kind of bounce back from as many graduation losses as they had. They lost both their quarterbacks last year, but five seniors starting on the offensive line. And when you start with that, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. That's again, they had Kurt Hines was their coach. He left to take a high school coaching job in San Diego. Derek Stank, who was a very good player at UNH for many years, took over. So it was an easy transition from, they didn't have to change systems and the kids knew the coaches already and vice versa. And, they're putting up points at a crazy rate right now. So they're playing PG this weekend. Pete Carrier is going to be covering that game for us at sportspage.com. So that should be a good one on Saturday night. Should be a lot of points in that one.
And they lost a nail biter too, 17-14 to Concord, right, on Friday?
Yeah. Concord bounced back. They were beaten pretty good by Goffstown in the opening week.
They got smoked by Goffstown.
A lot of turnovers by Bishop Girton in their second game, and a lot of costly errors, big penalties when they really didn't need it. So it was a good win for Concord. I mean, I think it's pretty balanced in Division I, so I think that result right there sort of proves that theory.
Yeah, what are some surprising teams here? Salem's 2-0. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be off to such a hot start. Who are some other teams that are surprising you so far, Dave?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise probably to me is in Division II is Lebanon, who beat Laconia on the road in their opener and then beat up Plymouth, who I picked to win that conference. Beat them fairly easily in week 2. They got a kid, Ryan Milliken, who ran for 306 yards this week. Chris Childs is the coach of Lebanon. He's got a really good offensive line, 2 sophomores to start, and they so far have played above expectations. So I think they're the big surprise there. I think Bishop Brady is a big surprise in Division III. They're taking on Bow, who was the best team in Division III during the regular season last year, so they kind of have their measuring stick game. And in Division I, I think Bedford, Salem, those are programs, though. They can lose a lot of seniors, and there's always a kid in waiting who's ready to step right in. And Salem's playing Pinkerton this weekend, which is going to be a tremendous game. I covered Pinkerton on Friday night, and although they've lost a ton of kids, they're still Pinkerton, 3,300 kids. Pete, I don't know if you remember, they used to play Brockton every year and compete very well with Brockton, Massachusetts. So that's just a program that's every year perennially is just a
Yeah,
powerhouse.
I did some play-by-play back in the day when I was out in Central Mass and a lot of Fitchburg and Leominster games, and when Mark Hartzell was the quarterback at Brockton.
Yeah.
And he was terrific, and he's one of the best high school quarterbacks I ever saw play.
Yeah,
And of course, he went on to Boston College and everything else. And there was they had a couple other kids. They had about 6, 7 kids on that team that went Division I.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And Pinkerton was playing those schools, and with 3,300 kids, why not? And they have a great coaching staff. Brian O'Reilly is one of the best, and he used to go up against Armin Colombo and Brock, and then his son after that. So, they've always been a really good representative of the state of New Hampshire and high school football.
We're talking with Dave Haley from the New Hampshire Sportspage. Dave, so far my biggest surprise are the Timberlane Owls, who after a Week 1 nail-biter with Exeter, who's also undefeated now, blew out Londonderry on Friday. And I didn't know exactly what to expect from Londonderry this year either, but I thought they'd be good enough to beat Timberlane. Are the Owls maybe on the upswing this season?
Oh, absolutely. I picked them to make the playoffs, and
Wow.
I think Londonderry, got a little more attention in the preseason from, the polls from, sort of the media people than they probably deserve. They're kind of in a bridge year, a transition year at Londonderry, and Timberlane's got a sophomore by the name of Jacob Post, who's tremendous. He had 3 touchdowns last week. Fast little kid, a really good, they've got a Tyler Fury, a really good running back over there, and their quarterback is Jason Hughes. He's a 3-year starter. So, he knows exactly, how to run the offense. He knows how to manage a clock, and he knows how to spread the ball around. And, Timberlane is one of those teams in Division I where they're going to kind of have one every 3 or 4 years. They're going to have that cycle of kids where they can compete in Division I. And this season is absolutely one of those years. I think they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about this last week, just about the transition of football in general from more of a passing game, a lot more of a passing game, at all levels, as opposed to a running game. Are you finding that, that wide receivers, even in high school, are becoming even more valuable to certain teams or most teams than running backs?
Yeah, they do. It's funny in New Hampshire, Pete, because Exeter and Pinkerton are really your known, programs, and they just run the old school wing tee, or they'll pass the ball 5 times. But you'll see more schools, a school like Portsmouth, a school like Goffstown at times, and other, Bishop Girton this year, they'll spread you out. So yeah, more kids that are 6'3", 6'4", maybe usually just play defensive end. Now they're coming out and trying to play wide receiver because, they're able to take advantage of their height. Exeter has a tight end named Hunter Long, who I definitely think can play at the next level. He's about 6'3", 6'4", just a rock-solid kid. And a lot of these kids, what it is all these 7-on-7s during the summer, where kids are working on their passing game during, June and July into August. And so it's much more sophisticated. Again, it comes right from the college game. We talked about it last week, and seeing it kind of go to the next level.
All right, Dave, what are you covering this weekend?
We're going to be out at Milford and Souhegan
on
Friday nights. We're excited about that. That's a huge rivalry game. Both teams are 2-0. They don't like each other very much, so those are kind of the fun games to cover. And then Pete Carey is going to be out at Bishop Girton and Bedford on Saturday night. So we're going to cover at least 2 games this weekend on NHSportspage.com. And then Pete and I will wrap it all up on the show on ESPN New Hampshire on Saturday morning from 9 to 11. So
awesome.
Forward to that as well.
Outstanding. Dave Haley,
Great.
Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks so much for the great work you do here on the weekends, and great work, as always, with the updates and the info. Thanks so much.
Oh, it's great being on with you guys. I appreciate it. Have a great week.
All right,
Dave.
Dave Haley there, New Hampshire Sports Page, joining us here on Arcand and Sheppard.